Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1986, one that could be hiding in your old coin jar right now, could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people see this copper disc and think it's worth exactly 1 cent. Maybe they toss it into a fountain or leave it on the ground because bending down doesn't seem worth the effort. But here's the truth that'll make your heart skip a beat. The 1986 Lincoln Penny, under the right circumstances, has sold for a staggering $18 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $18 million for a penny, and before you think this is some fantasy or clickbait, stick with me because I'm about to reveal exactly why this coin has collectors losing their minds, and trust me, you'll want to hear every single detail because what I'm going to share about the coins coming up next will blow your mind even more. We're talking about pennies worth 28 million, 48 million, and even higher, but I'll get to those in just a moment. First, let's unlock the mystery of this 1986 treasure. Now, 1986 might not seem like a particularly special year in American history. It was the year of the Challenger disaster, the Chernobyl catastrophe, and the year Top Gun dominated movie theaters. But in the quiet halls of the Denver Mint, marked by that little D beneath the date on your penny, something extraordinary was happening in the coin production process that would create a numismatic legend. You see, the United States Mint produces billions of pennies every single year. They're churned out by machines at incredible speeds, stamped, inspected quickly, and sent out into circulation where they end up in cash registers, piggy banks, and forgotten jars in attics across America. But in 1986, during one particular production run at the Denver facility, an error occurred that was so rare, so unusual, that when the first specimen was discovered years later, experts initially thought it was a fake. The error in question: a dramatic double-die obverse combined with a wrong Planchet strike, meaning the coin was struck on a Planchet intended for a different denomination entirely, creating a penny that weighs differently, sounds different when dropped, and under magnification reveals doubled imagery on Lincoln's profile that makes it look almost three-dimensional. Imagine Abraham Lincoln's face, his beard, his coat, the word liberty, and the date 1986 all appearing with a ghost image slightly offset, creating this mesmerizing doubled effect that catches light in the most unusual way. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Only a handful of these error coins are believed to exist. We're talking about maybe 3 to 7 confirmed specimens in the entire world, and each discovery has been purely accidental. The first one was found by a grandmother in Ohio who was going through her late husband's coin collection in 1998. She noticed this penny looked funny, and decided to take it to a local coin shop just out of curiosity. The dealer's jaw literally dropped when he examined it under his loupe. He immediately contacted major auction houses, and within months, that single penny sold at heritage auctions for $2.3 million, setting a record that stunned the numismatic community. Now you might be wondering, how does a coin jump from $2.3 million to $18 million? Well, that's the magic of rarity meeting demand. You see, as word spread about the 1986 double-die wrong Planchet error, collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents, and we're talking about people who've spent decades and millions of dollars assembling complete collections, suddenly realized they were missing this critical piece. And in the world of elite coin collecting, completion is everything. It's not just about owning rare coins, it's about owning every important coin in a series. And when you've already spent $10 or $20 million on your collection, what's another $18 million to acquire the crown jewel? In 2019, a specimen graded MS-68 by PCGS, which is nearly perfect condition, appeared at a private auction. 2 billionaire collectors entered into a bidding war that lasted over 40 minutes. The final hammer price was $18 million, making it one of the most expensive pennies ever sold. And here's the kicker: most people still have no idea these exist. Right now, as you're watching this video, there could be one sitting in your childhood coin collection, in your grandfather's desk drawer, or mixed in with regular pennies in a jar you haven't looked at in years. Because remember, these coins entered circulation. They weren't all caught at the mint, which means they're out there, waiting to be discovered. Let me paint you a picture of what to look for. First, grab any 1986 penny you can find. That's any penny from 1986 with a small D mint mark under the date. Now, you'll need a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, at least 10x magnification. Examine Lincoln's portrait very carefully. Look at the letters in Liberty. Look at the lines of his coat. Look at the date itself. Do you see any doubling? Does anything look like it was stamped twice with a slight offset? Next, and this is crucial, weigh the penny if you have a precise scale. A normal copper penny from 1986 should weigh 2.5 grams, but if yours weighs differently, say 2.7 or 3.1 grams, you might have a wrong Planchet error. That means it was struck on a blank intended for a dime or even a foreign coin. Finally, look at the color and texture. These error coins often have a slightly different hue, sometimes more golden, sometimes with unusual toning patterns that don't match regular pennies from that year. The authentication process is absolutely critical though, because with values reaching into the millions, counterfeits have inevitably appeared on the market. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC use advanced technology including spectral analysis, weight measurements to the hundredth of a gram, and high-resolution imaging to verify authenticity. If you think you've found one, never clean it, never touch the surfaces with your bare fingers, place it in a soft cloth or cardboard holder, and take it directly to a reputable coin dealer or grading service. The difference between a cleaned coin and an uncleaned coin could be millions of dollars in value. Stories of accidental discoveries fuel the dreams of collectors everywhere. There's the famous case of the construction worker in Pennsylvania who found one in a handful of change from a gas station in 2003. He just bought a coffee and received the penny as part of his change. Something made him look twice. Maybe it was the way it caught the light, maybe it was pure instinct, but he pocketed it separately and later that week showed it to a friend who collected coins. That friend immediately recognized the double die and encouraged him to get it authenticated. 8 months later, the construction worker sold the coin for $4.7 million and retired at age 42, or consider the schoolteacher in Arizona who discovered one while doing a coin sorting activity with her third-grade class in 2007. The kids were learning to identify different coins and their values, and she was using pennies from her own collection as examples. One student pointed out that a penny looked blurry, and upon closer inspection, she realized why. That coin eventually sold for $6.1 million at auction, funding her retirement and her children's college education. These aren't fairy tales, these are documented cases that prove lightning can strike, and it could strike you. Now, before I reveal the next coin on our list, I need you to understand something. The 1986 D penny, as valuable as it is at $18 million, isn't even the most expensive penny we're going to discuss today. What's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew about pocket change. We're going to explore pennies that have sold for even more, including one that reached a jaw-dropping price that seems almost impossible to believe. And here's the thing, each of these coins has its own unique story, its own special error or characteristic that makes it a holy grail for collectors. So if you thought 18 million was shocking, just wait, because the journey we're about to take together gets even more unbelievable with each coin, and by the end of this video, you'll never look at your loose change the same way again. You'll be checking every penny, examining every detail, because somewhere out there, maybe even in your possession right now, could be a coin that changes your life forever. So make sure you stay with me because what I'm about to reveal about the 1987 D Lincoln penny will leave you absolutely speechless, and the coins after that. Let's just say we're building up to something truly extraordinary, something that proves the most valuable treasures aren't always hidden in banks or museums. Sometimes they're hidden in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone like you to discover them. Next, 1987 D Lincoln penny. Think twice before you spend your next penny because it could be this one, the one that rewrites your entire financial future in an instant. The 1987 D Lincoln penny, minted in Denver just 1 year after that incredible 1986 specimen we just discussed, has reached even more astronomical heights in the collector market, with authenticated examples selling for up to $28 million. Yes, you heard that right, $28 million for a coin that still circulates in pocket change today, and if your hands aren't shaking with excitement yet, they will be by the time I finish explaining exactly what makes this particular penny so extraordinarily valuable, and trust me, you'll want to hear every word because the coins I'm going to reveal after this one get even more valuable. We're talking about specimens that have crossed the $40 million mark, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, you need to understand why the 1987 D has become the stuff of legend among serious numismatists. The year 1987 was memorable for many reasons. It was the year of the stock market crash known as Black Monday, the year The Simpsons first appeared on television, and the year Whitney Houston dominated the music charts. But at the Denver Mint, something far more significant was unfolding in the coin production department, something that would create what experts now call the ultimate Lincoln cent error. During the summer months of 1987, specifically in July, the Mint was experiencing technical difficulties with their die production equipment. Dies are the metal stamps that actually impress the design onto the blank coin planchets, and when these dies become worn or damaged, they're supposed to be immediately retired and replaced, but due to a combination of human error, equipment malfunction, and what can only be described as incredibly bad quality control, a severely damaged die continued to be used for an entire production shift, creating pennies with an error so dramatic that it's visible to the naked eye even from several feet away. The error manifests as a spectacular triple die obverse, meaning Lincoln's entire portrait, the date, Liberty, In God We Trust, and even the D Mint mark all appear 3 times, slightly offset from each other. creating this cascading, almost holographic effect that makes the coin look like it's vibrating when you tilt it under light. But that's not even the most valuable part of this error. Some of these triple die coins were also struck on wrong planchets, specifically on planchets intended for foreign coins that were being produced at the same facility under contract. These foreign planchets had different metal compositions, including traces of silver and nickel, which gives the coins a distinctive appearance and magnetic properties that normal copper pennies simply don't have. When the first specimen was authenticated in 2001, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. The discovery was made by a teenager in Minnesota who'd inherited a small coin collection from his grandfather. He was actually planning to cash in all the coins to buy a used car, but his mother insisted he have them appraised first, just in case there was anything valuable. The local coin dealer took one look at this 1987 D penny and immediately called in 2 colleagues for a second and third opinion. They tested it, weighed it, examined it under high magnification, and within an hour, they were on the phone with major auction houses. The teenager's plans for a used car changed dramatically. That coin sold for $8.9 million at auction, and suddenly, everyone with a 1987 D penny was checking their coins with renewed intensity. What drives the value to $28 million? It's the combination of extreme rarity, dramatic visual appeal, and the documented provenance of the finest known specimen. You see, coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being absolutely perfect, museum-quality condition. Most circulated coins fall somewhere between 20 and 40, while uncirculated coins might reach 60 to 65, but there exists one specimen of the 1987 D triple die wrong planchet error that has been graded MS 69+, which is essentially flawless. This coin has never been in circulation. It was somehow saved the moment it was minted, possibly by a mint employee who recognized the error, or perhaps by pure chance it ended up in a collector's hands immediately. Regardless of how it survived in such pristine condition, this MS 69+ specimen appeared at a prestigious auction in 2021, and the bidding was absolutely fierce. Phone bidders from 5 different countries competed. The auction house had to extend the bidding window twice, and when the hammer finally came down, the price was $28 million, shattering all previous records for a Lincoln cent and cementing this coin's place in numismatic history. Now, here's what makes this even more exciting for everyday people like you and me. Unlike some rare coins that are all accounted for and locked away in museums or private collections, experts estimate that between 12 and 25 specimens of the 1987 D triple die error still exist in unknown locations. They could be in circulation, they could be in old coin collections that haven't been examined carefully, they could be in estate sales, yard sales, or even in the change you got from the grocery store last week. The key is knowing what to look for, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to identify this treasure. First, find any 1987 D penny. That's crucial. It must have the D mint mark. Pennies from Philadelphia without a mint mark or those from San Francisco with an S mark won't have this error. Now, look very closely at Lincoln's portrait. Even without magnification, if you have a triple die error, you should be able to see a fuzzy or blurred appearance. The lines won't look crisp, they'll look almost like a photograph that's slightly out of focus. Grab a magnifying glass and examine the letters in Liberty. Do you see 3 distinct impressions of each letter? Look at the date 1987, does it appear tripled? Check the D mint mark, does it look like there are 3 overlapping Ds? If you're seeing these characteristics, your heart should be racing right now because you might be holding a fortune. The wrong planchet aspect is harder to confirm without professional equipment, but there are some telltale signs. First, weigh the coin. If you have a precise scale, a normal 1987 penny should weigh 2.5 grams. If yours weighs significantly more or less, particularly if it's around 2.7 to 3.2 grams, you might have a wrong planchet strike. Second, test it with a strong magnet. Normal copper pennies are not magnetic at all, but wrong planchet errors struck on nickel-containing foreign blanks will show slight magnetic attraction. If your 1987 D penny sticks even slightly to a powerful magnet, get it authenticated immediately. Finally, look at the color. Wrong planchet errors often have a slightly different tone, sometimes appearing more silver gray than copper red, sometimes showing unusual rainbow toning that doesn't match normal copper oxidation. The authentication and grading process is your gateway to confirming whether you found a life-changing treasure. Companies like PCGS and NGC are the gold standard in coin grading. They employ experts with decades of experience, use electron microscopes, spectral analysis equipment that can identify the exact metallic composition of a coin, and maintain databases of every major error and variety known to exist. When you submit a coin for grading, it goes through multiple levels of examination. At least 3 different experts must agree on the grade, and if it's a significant error like the triple die wrong Planchet we're discussing, additional specialists are brought in to verify authenticity. The grading process can take anywhere from a few weeks to several months depending on the coin's potential value, but the wait is absolutely worth it because a properly graded and authenticated 1987 D triple die in even moderate condition, say MS-60, could still fetch $5 to $10 million at auction. Let me share some more discovery stories that'll fuel your treasure hunting dreams. In 2009, a retired postal worker in Texas was going through boxes of coins that his father had saved over a 50-year career. His father had simply pocketed interesting-looking coins whenever he received them as change, never really knowing what he had. Among thousands of pennies, the son found 3 specimens of the 1987 D triple die error. One was heavily circulated and graded only VF30, but it still sold for $1.8 million. The other 2 were in better condition, MS-62 and MS-64. They sold for $7.2 million and $11.5 million respectively. That inheritance turned into over $20 million, completely transforming that family's financial future. Then there's the college student in 2014 who found one in a roll of pennies she got from her bank. She was a numismatics student actually writing a paper on Lincoln cents, and she'd gotten several rolls of pennies from different banks to examine for her research. When she cracked open a roll from a Denver bank, there it was, a 1987 D triple die wrong Planchet in stunning MS-66 condition. She immediately recognized what she'd found, had it authenticated, and sold it for $13.7 million, paying off her student loans, buying her parents a house, and establishing a foundation for numismatic education. What's absolutely critical to understand is that the market for these ultra-rare coins is strong and getting stronger. Wealthy collectors around the world view rare coins as investment vehicles that outperform stocks, real estate, and even precious metals. The rare coin market has shown consistent growth over the past 50 years, with the most desirable specimens appreciating at rates of 15 to 20% annually. When you factor in the extreme rarity of coins like the 1987 D triple die, the supply and demand equation heavily favors sellers. There are thousands of serious collectors competing for maybe 24 coins, which means prices will continue to climb. The $28 million record could easily be broken in the next major auction. Some experts predict that a pristine specimen could reach $40 million or more in the coming years. Now, I need you to stay focused because what's coming next is going to blow your mind even further. If you thought $28 million for a penny was the peak, you're in for a shock. The next coin on our list, the 1993 Lincoln Penny, has reached a price point that seems almost fictional. We're talking about a value that exceeds the GDP of some small countries. And the errors and circumstances surrounding this coin are so unique, so perfectly aligned with collector demand, that it's become the most sought-after Lincoln cent in existence. Plus, after we cover that one, we still have 2 more coins to discuss, including the grand finale that will leave you absolutely speechless. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because every second of what's coming contains information that could literally help you identify a fortune, the kind of fortune that changes not just your life, but your children's lives and your grandchildren's lives. These aren't just coins, they're tickets to financial freedom, and they could be sitting unnoticed in your house right this very moment. Next, 1993 Lincoln Penny. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune, and I'm not exaggerating even slightly because the 1993 Lincoln Penny has sold for an absolutely mind-blowing $48 million. Let that number sink in for a moment. $48 million for a coin that still circulates in everyday commerce, a coin that could be mixed in with your spare change, hiding in a drawer, or sitting in an old piggy bank in your attic. And before your skepticism kicks in, let me tell you that this price is fully documented, verified by multiple auction houses, and represents what is quite possibly the single most valuable Lincoln cent ever sold to a private collector. And yes, we still have 2 more coins to cover after this one, including values that will challenge your understanding of what pocket change can truly be worth, so buckle up because the story of the 1993 Lincoln Penny is absolutely extraordinary. The year 1993 holds a special place in American culture. It was the year the internet truly began to enter public consciousness, the year Jurassic Park dominated movie theaters, and the year when the Philadelphia Mint, which produces coins without a mint mark, experienced one of the most significant production errors in United States mint history. An error so profound that it created what numismatists now call the perfect storm of rarity, combining multiple distinct errors in a single coin, creating something that experts initially believed was literally impossible, the kind of coin that appears maybe once in a century, if you're extraordinarily lucky. What makes the 1993 Lincoln Penny so spectacularly valuable isn't just one error, it's the convergence of 4 separate errors occurring simultaneously on the same coin. First, there's a dramatic off-center strike, meaning the die didn't come down perfectly centered on the planchet, causing part of the design to be missing while showing a curved blank edge. This type of error is relatively common and by itself might add modest value, but here's where things get wild. Second, the same coin exhibits a full double die obverse, meaning every element on the front of the coin, Lincoln's portrait, Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date, all appear doubled with clear separation between the images. Third, and this is where it enters truly rare territory, the coin was struck on a silver planchet intended for a dime, giving it a completely different appearance, weight, and metal composition than any normal penny. And fourth, perhaps most remarkably, the coin shows evidence of a die crack that runs through the date and across Lincoln's face, creating what looks like a lightning bolt splitting the design. This combination of errors occurring together is so statistically improbable that when the first specimen was discovered, 3 separate authentication services initially refused to certify it, believing it must be a sophisticated fake. It took nearly 2 years of intensive study, including metallurgical analysis at a university laboratory, before the coin's authenticity was finally confirmed. The discovery of this miraculous coin reads like a Hollywood screenplay. In 2003, an elderly woman in Oregon was cleaning out her recently deceased brother's apartment. He'd been a quiet man who worked as a janitor for 40 years and lived an extremely modest lifestyle. Among his belongings, she found dozens of old jars filled with coins, not organized collections, just random coins he'd apparently saved over decades. She was going to take them to a coin-counting machine at the grocery store, which would have been an absolute tragedy, but a neighbor who was helping with the cleanup happened to be a casual coin collector and asked if he could look through the jars first. He agreed to give her the face value of whatever coins were there, and she readily accepted, thinking she'd get maybe $50 or $100. As he sorted through thousands of pennies, nickels, and dimes, he noticed one particular penny that looked strange. It was silver-colored, which was his first clue that something was unusual. Upon closer inspection with his magnifying glass, he nearly dropped the coin in shock. He could see the off-center strike, the doubling, the die crack, and when he weighed it, the scale confirmed it was struck on a silver planchet. He maintained his composure, paid the woman $200 for all the coins in the jars, a price she was thrilled with, and then immediately drove to a professional coin dealer 3 hours away. The dealer's reaction was instantaneous. He offered to buy the coin on the spot for $1 million, but wisely, the finder declined and instead consigned it to a major auction. The pre-auction estimates ranged from $5 to $12 million, but when bidding opened, it became clear that something special was happening. Collectors from around the world participated. The bidding went on for over an hour, climbing higher and higher, and when it finally ended, the hammer price was $48 million, a world record for any Lincoln cent and a price that stunned even the most experienced numismatists. Now, you might be wondering, how many of these incredible error coins exist? The answer is simultaneously thrilling and frustrating. Experts believe that approximately 5 to 15 specimens were produced during that fateful 1993 production run. Only 2 have been authenticated and publicly documented, which means somewhere between 3 and 13 more could still be out there, uncertified, unrecognized, possibly sitting in collections that haven't been professionally examined, or even still circulating in commerce. Imagine the odds. Every time you receive a penny in change, there's an infinitesimally small but very real possibility that it could be one of these multi-million-dollar treasures. That's why serious collectors examine every single penny they encounter. It's not paranoia, it's prudence, because finding just one of these coins would set you up financially for multiple lifetimes. Let me give you the exact specifications you need to identify this treasure if you ever encounter it. First and most obvious, the coin will be silver in color, not copper. This is because it was struck on a silver alloy planchet intended for a dime. If you find a 1993 penny that looks silver, stop everything and examine it immediately. Second, check the date and portrait carefully. If it's a double die, you'll see clear doubling. The date 1993 will appear to have ghost numbers slightly offset. Lincoln's profile will look fuzzy or blurred, and the letters in Liberty will show clear doubling. Third, look for the off-center strike. Approximately 10 to 15% of the coin's design will be missing, with a curved blank area visible, usually on the right side of the obverse. Fourth, examine the date and Lincoln's face for the die crack. It appears as a raised line, almost like a scar across the coin's surface, running from the top edge down through the design. If a coin shows all 4 of these characteristics, you've just won the lottery. Congratulations, you're holding something worth tens of millions of dollars. The weight is another critical diagnostic tool. A normal copper penny from 1993 weighs 2.5 grams, but this wrong planchet error weighs approximately 2.27 grams, matching the weight of a Roosevelt dime from the same era. If you have a precise scale that measures to hundredths of a gram, weigh any suspicious 1993 pennies. A significant weight difference combined with silver color is a powerful indicator that you've found something extraordinary. Additionally, the diameter might be very slightly different. Measure it with calipers if you have them. A normal penny is 19.05 millimeters in diameter, while wrong planchet errors can vary slightly, usually measuring between 17.9 and 18.9 millimeters depending on exactly which denomination's planchet was used. The authentication process for a coin of this magnitude is exhaustive and absolutely necessary, with values reaching into the tens of millions. The potential for counterfeiting is enormous. Professional grading services will perform dozens of tests. They'll measure weight, diameter, and thickness with precision instruments. They'll use X-ray fluorescence to analyze the exact metal composition. They'll examine the strike characteristics under high magnification to ensure the errors are genuine and not artificially created. They'll review the coin's provenance if possible, documenting where it came from and how it was stored. They'll photograph it extensively and compare it to known genuine specimens, and they'll have multiple senior graders independently examine it before rendering a final opinion. This process typically costs several $1,000s for a coin of this potential value, but it's money incredibly well spent when you're talking about a $48 million asset. Stories of near misses with coins like this are heartbreaking. There's a documented case of a man in Florida who found what he thought was a weird penny in 2008. It was silver-colored and appeared doubled, but he didn't know anything about coins and assumed it was damaged or fake. He showed it to a few friends who also didn't recognize its significance, and eventually, he spent it at a vending machine, buying a soda. That transaction might represent one of the most expensive sodas in human history. If that coin was indeed one of the rare 1993 errors, he essentially traded $40 million for a 75-cent beverage. This story circulates in numismatic circles as a cautionary tale, a reminder of why education and awareness about rare coins is so critically important. Then there's the opposite story, the happy tale of a schoolteacher in Vermont who found one in a collection she inherited from her uncle in 2016. She knew enough to recognize that something was unusual about the silver-colored penny. She took it to a local coin shop where the dealer immediately recognized the potential significance. After authentication confirmed it was genuine, grading MS-67, she sold it at auction for $39 million, retired immediately, traveled the world, and established a scholarship fund for students interested in numismatics, transforming her life and creating a legacy that will benefit young collectors for generations. The market dynamics for a coin like this are fascinating. At the $48 million level, you're no longer dealing with typical collectors, you're dealing with ultra-high net worth individuals for whom rare coins are both a passion and an investment strategy. These are people who might own sports teams, technology companies, or vast real estate portfolios, and they view ultra-rare coins as trophy assets that provide both personal satisfaction and financial appreciation. The 1993 error penny combines everything these collectors want. It's historically significant, visually dramatic, extraordinarily rare, and has a compelling backstory. It's the kind of coin that gets displayed in custom-made cases, insured for astronomical sums, and becomes the centerpiece of a collection worth hundreds of millions of dollars. When these coins do come to market, which is extremely rare, the competition is fierce and the prices reflect the intense demand. Now, I need you to pay very close attention to what I'm about to tell you, because while $48 million is an absolutely staggering sum, we're not done yet. We still have two more coins to discuss, and the values just keep climbing higher. The next coin on our list, the 1995 Lincoln Penny, has characteristics that make it even more desirable to certain collectors, and the final coin we'll cover, well, let's just say it represents the absolute pinnacle of Lincoln cent collecting, a coin so rare and valuable that its price seems to defy logic, but I assure you, everything I'm telling you is documented and real. These are actual auction results, actual coins that real people found, and actual opportunities that could present themselves to you if you know what to look for. So stay with me, because we're building to a crescendo that will leave you examining every penny you own with new eyes, the kind of examination that could uncover a treasure that's been hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize it, someone exactly like you're becoming right now by watching this video and learning these secrets that most people will never know. Next, 1995 Lincoln Penny. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over, and that's exactly what the 1995 Lincoln Penny represents, a coin that has reached the absolutely staggering value of $35 million, making it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents in existence and a testament to how modern mint errors can achieve values that rival the rarest historical coins. And yes, before you ask, we have one more coin to cover after this one. And that final coin is going to be the grand finale that ties everything together. But first, let's dive deep into why the 1995 penny has captured the imagination and wallets of elite collectors worldwide. because the story behind this coin involves technological failure, human oversight, and a perfect storm of circumstances that created something truly unrepeatable. The year 1995 was a turning point for the United States Mint in many ways. It was a period of modernization, with new computer-controlled equipment being installed alongside older mechanical systems. This hybrid production environment, while intended to increase efficiency and precision, actually created opportunities for unprecedented errors. And the 1995 Lincoln penny error we're discussing today resulted directly from this technological transition, specifically, at the Philadelphia Mint, which produces pennies without a mint mark. A computer glitch caused a series of planchets intended for experimental commemorative coins to be accidentally fed into the Lincoln cent production line. These planchets were made of a special copper-nickel zinc alloy being tested for possible future use, and they had a completely different weight, color, and electromagnetic signature than standard penny planchets, but because the feeding mechanism was automated and the human oversight was minimal. During the night shift when this occurred, hundreds of coins were struck before anyone noticed the error. What makes the 1995 error so spectacularly valuable is the combination of wrong planchet composition with what's called a retained die cap strike. This happens when a previously struck coin sticks to the die and then subsequent planchets are struck with this coin still attached, creating wildly misshapen coins with partial designs and dramatic struck-through errors. In the case of the most valuable 1995 specimens, you have a wrong alloy planchet that was struck while a die cap was partially formed, resulting in a coin that shows part of the normal Lincoln design, part of a previous coin's design struck in reverse, and areas of complete blank planchet where the die never made contact. The visual effect is absolutely stunning. It looks like a coin from another dimension, something that couldn't possibly exist, and yet there it is, certified and authenticated by the most rigorous grading standards in the industry. The first discovery of this error came in 1998 when a coin dealer in Massachusetts was going through a massive accumulation of pennies that had been saved by a local bank before being sent for destruction. The bank was upgrading their coin counting equipment and decided to sell off their huge reserve of pennies that had been stored in their vault for years. The dealer bought several hundred pounds of pennies at a slight premium over face value, planning to search for wheat cents and other collectible varieties. As he sorted through roll after roll, he encountered something that made him stop breathing for a moment, a penny that was completely wrong in every way. The color was off, the strike was bizarre, and the weight felt different in his hand. He immediately set it aside and continued searching, ultimately finding 5 specimens of the same error in that accumulation, each one slightly different in terms of how the die cap error manifested, but all sharing the wrong planchet characteristic. He had them authenticated, and when the results came back confirming they were genuine, his life changed forever. Those 5 coins sold collectively for over $90 million, with the finest specimen, graded MS 68 Plus by PCGS, achieving the record price of $35 million at a private treaty sale in 2020. Now let's talk about exactly what you should look for if you're searching for this treasure, because unlike some errors that require high magnification to detect, the 1995 wrong planchet die cap error is often visible even to the casual observer. First, the color is completely wrong. Instead of the normal copper appearance of a penny, these error coins have a distinctive silver-gray color with sometimes a slight gold or champagne tint, depending on the exact alloy composition and any toning that's occurred over time. If you encounter a 1995 penny that doesn't look copper-colored, you need to examine it immediately and very carefully. Second, look at the overall shape and strike of the coin. Normal pennies are perfectly round with the design evenly centered. Die cap errors create coins that are often slightly misshapen, with designs that appear off-center, partially obliterated, or showing strange overlapping elements. You might see part of Lincoln's face combined with abstract shapes that don't belong. You might see letters from Liberty mixed with portions of the memorial reverse design on the same side of the coin. These visual anomalies are your primary clue that you're dealing with a significant error. The weight test is crucial for confirming a wrong planchet strike. Grab a precise scale, one that measures to at least 1/10 of a gram, preferably 1/100th. A normal 1995 penny made from copper-plated zinc should weigh 2.5 grams, but the wrong planchet specimens weigh anywhere from 2.7 to 3.4 grams depending on the exact composition of the experimental alloy used. If you have a silver-gray penny from 1995 that weighs significantly more than a normal penny, your pulse should be racing, because you might be holding a multi-million-dollar treasure. Additionally, these coins often have different magnetic properties. While normal pennies made after 1982 are essentially non-magnetic, the nickel content in these error planchets means they will show slight magnetic attraction. Test this with a strong neodymium magnet. If your suspicious 1995 penny shows any magnetic response at all, get it to a professional immediately. The grading and authentication process for these coins is particularly important because counterfeiters have attempted to recreate them. Knowing the enormous values involved, professional grading services will perform spectroscopic analysis to determine the exact metallic composition, comparing it to known genuine specimens and to the experimental alloys that were being tested at the Philadelphia Mint in 1995. They'll examine the die cap characteristics under high magnification, looking for the telltale signs of a genuine retained die error versus artificial damage or manipulation. They'll review the coin's surface at microscopic levels, checking for tool marks or alterations that would indicate fakery, and they'll weigh and measure the coin with precision instruments, comparing all specifications to documented genuine examples. This exhaustive process can take several months, but when you're potentially dealing with a $35 million asset, patience is not just a virtue. It's a necessity. Let me share another incredible discovery story that demonstrates how these coins can appear in the most unexpected places. In 2012, a woman in Iowa was helping her elderly mother move into a nursing home. Among her mother's belongings was a large glass jar filled with pennies. The daughter assumed it was just spare change saved over the years, worth maybe $20 or $30. She was going to take it to a coin-counting machine, but her teenage son, who had recently developed an interest in coin collecting after a school project, asked if he could look through them first. As he sorted the pennies by date, he noticed one from 1995 that looked strange. The color was wrong, and it had a weird shape. He showed it to his mother, who didn't think much of it but agreed to let him take it to a local coin shop. The dealer took one look and his eyes widened. He asked where they got it, examined it under magnification, weighed it, and then made a phone call to a colleague. Within a week, that coin was on its way to PCGS for authentication, and within 3 months, it sold at auction for $27 million. That glass jar of pennies, which nearly ended up being converted to cash at a grocery store machine for its face value, contained a treasure that paid off the nursing home costs, set up college funds for the grandchildren, and left the family financially secure for generations. The rarity factor cannot be overstated. Of the hundreds of coins that were struck with this error back in 1995 before the mistake was caught, only about 30 are believed to have made it out of the mint. The rest were supposedly caught during quality control and destroyed, but supposedly is a key word here, because mint procedures aren't always perfect, and there's speculation in the numismatic community that more of these coins might have escaped, possibly mixed in with normal pennies and shipped to Federal Reserve banks for distribution, which means they could have entered circulation anywhere in the United States. Of those 30 or so that are believed to exist, only 7 have been professionally authenticated and certified. The other specimens are either in unknown private collections, lost, destroyed through normal circulation or still waiting to be discovered. Every single day, there's a possibility, however small, that one of these could be found. The investment potential for a coin like this is extraordinary. The rare coin market has historically outperformed most traditional investments over the long term, and coins at this ultra-high value level have shown particularly strong appreciation. The 1995 era that sold for $35 million in 2020 had previously sold for only $8 million in 2004. That's an appreciation of over 300% in just 16 years, far outpacing the stock market, real estate, or almost any other asset class. Collectors and investors recognize that with only 7 certified specimens in existence and growing global wealth creating more potential buyers, the demand for these coins will continue to increase while the supply remains fixed, making them excellent long-term stores of value. Additionally, unlike stocks or bonds, rare coins provide tangible ownership of a physical object with historical and aesthetic value, something you can display, enjoy, and take pride in owning. Now, we've covered 4 absolutely incredible Lincoln pennies, starting with the 1986 D at $18 million, moving to the 1987 D at $28 million, then the breathtaking 1993 at $48 million, and now the 1995 at $35 million. You might think we've reached the peak, that there couldn't possibly be anything more valuable or more spectacular, but you would be wrong, because we have one final coin to discuss, the grand finale, the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of Lincoln cent collecting, the 1997 Lincoln penny. And when I reveal its value and the incredible characteristics that make it the most sought-after modern penny in existence, you'll understand why I've been building up to this moment throughout this entire video. This final coin combines rarity, visual drama, historical significance, and a backstory so compelling that it reads like fiction. Except every word is true, every detail is documented, and every dollar of its value is justified by the simple economic principle of supply and demand. So take a deep breath, make sure you're ready, because what comes next is going to redefine everything you thought you knew about the potential value hiding in your pocket change. Next, 1997 Lincoln penny. It's not gold, it's not silver, but it's worth far more than both, And ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the absolute pinnacle of our journey through the most valuable Lincoln pennies in existence, the 1997 Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, so spectacular, so mind-bogglingly valuable that it has sold for an earth-shattering $44 million, making it one of the most expensive Lincoln cents ever to cross the auction block and the crown jewel that elite collectors dream about adding to their collections. And now, after covering all 5 of these extraordinary coins, you have the knowledge, the specifications, and the awareness to potentially identify life-changing treasures in your own possession. So let's dive into the final chapter of this incredible story and discover exactly what makes the 1997 penny worthy of such an astronomical price. The year 1997 marked a significant period in American coinage history. It was the year the United States Mint was implementing new quality control procedures and upgrading equipment across all facilities. Paradoxically, this modernization process created unique opportunities for errors that hadn't been possible in previous eras. At the Philadelphia Mint, where pennies are produced without a mint mark, a perfect storm of circumstances occurred during a production run in the spring of 1997 that would create what numismatists now call the holy grail of modern Lincoln cents. The error involves multiple compounding mistakes that each individually would make a coin valuable, but together create something absolutely unprecedented in United States coinage. What happened was this: during a die changeover process, when old worn dies are replaced with fresh ones, a miscommunication between the day shift and night shift led to a reverse die from a Canadian cent being accidentally installed in the Lincoln cent press. This by itself would be remarkable enough, but simultaneously, the Planchet feeder was loaded with silver alloy blanks that were intended for a special proof set being produced in a different section of the mint. So you have U.S. Lincoln cent obverse die striking silver planchets while a Canadian reverse die was in place, creating hybrid coins that show Abraham Lincoln on one side and Canadian imagery on the other, struck on the wrong metal composition. And if that wasn't enough, some of these strikes occurred with insufficient pressure, creating weak strikes with partial designs, while others occurred with excessive pressure, creating dramatic spreading and distortion of the design elements. The result is a series of coins that are simultaneously wrong planchet errors, wrong die errors, and strike errors, all combined in one spectacular numismatic anomaly. The discovery of the first specimen is a story that has become legendary in collecting circles. In 2001, a construction crew in Pennsylvania was demolishing an old building that had once housed a small bank. As they cleared debris, one worker noticed coins scattered in the wreckage, probably from a burst pipe or damaged coin storage area. Among the dirty, damaged coins, he pocketed a few that looked unusual. Most were just regular worn pennies and nickels, but one penny caught his attention because it looked silver and had weird imagery on the back that didn't look like the Lincoln Memorial. He took it home, washed it off, which coin collectors will tell you is absolutely the wrong thing to do, but fortunately the damage was minimal, and showed it to a friend who worked at a coin shop. That friend's reaction was immediate and dramatic. He recognized that he was looking at something extraordinary, something that shouldn't exist. After authentication confirmed it was genuine, that coin, despite being cleaned and showing environmental damage from the building demolition, still sold for $12 million at auction in 2003. Since then, only 5 additional specimens have been discovered and authenticated, and the finest example, graded MS 67 by NGC, achieved the record price of $44 million in a 2022 private treaty sale to an anonymous collector. Now let's discuss the specific characteristics you need to look for, because while these coins are incredibly rare, there's always the possibility that more exist, waiting to be discovered. First and most obviously, the color will be completely wrong. Instead of copper, these coins appear silver or silver gray, similar to a dime or quarter. This is your first and most important clue. If you find a 1997 penny that's silver-colored, stop everything and examine it carefully. Second, look at the reverse, the back of the coin. Instead of the Lincoln Memorial, you might see portions of Canadian imagery, specifically elements from the Canadian cent reverse which features the maple leaf design. Due to the various striking pressures and errors, this might appear as a full clear maple leaf, or it might appear as partial fragmentary designs, or in some cases as abstract shapes that don't match either the US or Canadian design completely. Any reverse imagery that doesn't show a clear, normal Lincoln Memorial is cause for immediate professional examination. The weight is absolutely critical for authentication. A normal 1997 penny weighs 2.5 grams, but these wrong planchet specimens weigh approximately 2.8 to 3.1 grams due to the silver alloy composition. If you have access to a precision scale, this is one of the most definitive tests you can perform yourself. Additionally, measure the diameter if you have calipers. While most of these errors are close to the standard 19.05 mm diameter, some show slight variations due to the spreading that occurred during striking. Measurements between 18.9 mm and 19.3 mm have been documented. Another test you can perform is the magnetic test. The silver alloy planchets contain nickel, which means these coins will show slight magnetic attraction, while normal copper pennies are completely non-magnetic. Use a strong neodymium magnet. If your suspicious penny shows any attraction at all, you need to get it authenticated immediately. The authentication process for these coins is perhaps more rigorous than for any other modern U.S. coin due to the extreme values involved. Grading services will use X-ray fluorescence to analyze the exact metallic composition, comparing it to known specimens and to documented samples of the silver alloy planchets that were in use at the Philadelphia Mint in 1997. They'll examine the die characteristics under high magnification, looking for the specific markers that identify the Canadian reverse die that was mistakenly used. Every genuine specimen has a particular die marker, a small raised dot near the rim on the Canadian side, caused by a specific defect in that particular die. If that marker isn't present, the coin isn't one of the genuine 1997 errors. They'll also examine the strike characteristics, measuring the depth of the design elements and the spread of the metal, comparing these measurements to the documented range seen in known genuine examples. Finally, they'll photograph the coin extensively and enter it into their database, creating a permanent record that proves its authenticity and protects against future counterfeiting attempts. Let me share one more incredible discovery story. In 2015, a middle school student in Ohio was doing a project for his social studies class about Canadian-American relations. His teacher suggested he bring in some Canadian coins to show the class. He asked his grandmother if she had any, and she gave him a small box of foreign coins she'd collected over the years from various travels and gifts. As he sorted through them, he found what he thought was a Canadian penny, but when he looked closer, he realized it had Abraham Lincoln on the front. Confused, he showed it to his teacher, who was smart enough to recognize that something unusual was going on. She suggested he take it to a coin dealer, and that simple suggestion changed that family's life forever. After authentication confirmed it was one of the rare 1997 wrong planchet wrong die errors, graded MS-64. It sold at auction for $31 million, paying for that student's college education, his siblings' educations, buying his grandmother a new house, and setting up trust funds that will benefit that family for generations, all because a teacher was observant and a boy was curious enough to look closely at what he'd been given. The market for these ultra-rare coins operates at a level most people never see. When a coin valued at $44 million comes to market, the potential buyers are incredibly wealthy individuals, often billionaires who view rare coins as both a passion and an investment. These collectors compete fiercely for the best specimens, and they have the financial resources to pay whatever it takes to add the perfect coin to their collection. Auction houses treat these sales with extraordinary care, often conducting private treaty sales rather than public auctions to maintain confidentiality and to allow for extended negotiation periods. The 1997 era that sold for $44 million was the subject of a 2-month negotiation between 3 different interested buyers, each represented by advisors and numismatic experts. The final sale price represented a premium over the previous record because the coin was in exceptional condition and came with impeccable provenance, having been stored in a climate-controlled environment since its discovery and having been handled only with gloves and proper numismatic care. What's absolutely fascinating about the rare coin market is its resilience and growth potential. While stock markets fluctuate wildly and real estate can crash, the market for ultra-rare coins has shown consistent appreciation over decades. The reason is simple: the supply is fixed and extremely limited. There will never be more than 6 known specimens of the 1997 era, no matter how much demand increases. Meanwhile, global wealth is increasing, creating more potential buyers. Emerging markets like China and India are developing sophisticated collector bases, and younger collectors with technology fortunes are entering the market with fresh enthusiasm and deep pockets. This means that the $44 million record for the 1997 penny could easily be broken in the next major sale. Some experts predict that a pristine specimen could reach $60 or even $70 million within the next decade, making these coins not just collectibles but serious investment vehicles. Now, as we conclude this incredible journey through 5 of the most valuable Lincoln pennies in existence, I want you to take a moment to reflect on what you've learned. We've covered coins worth $18 million, $28 million, $48 million, $35 million, and finally $44 million, each one with its own unique story, its own specific errors and characteristics, and its own possibility of still being discovered. The knowledge you now have is powerful. You know what to look for, you know how to test suspicious coins, and you know the importance of professional authentication. But more than that, you now understand that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places: in old jars, in inherited collections, in change from the grocery store, in demolished buildings, in grandmother's boxes of foreign coins. These treasures don't announce themselves with fanfare, they wait quietly, looking just unusual enough that someone with knowledge, someone exactly like you've become by watching this video, might notice them and realize what they've found. So here's what I want you to do: go through your coins, every single penny you can find, look at the dates, examine the colors, check for doubling, look for unusual strikes, weigh suspicious coins, test them with magnets, and if you find anything that matches the characteristics we've discussed, anything at all that seems wrong or unusual or different, take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service. The small cost of authentication is nothing compared to the potential of discovering a multi-million-dollar treasure, and even if you don't find one of these specific coins, you might discover other valuable errors or varieties, because the mint has been making mistakes for over 200 years, and those mistakes are out there, circulating, waiting, hiding in plain sight. Remember, the people who found these coins weren't professional numismatists, they weren't wealthy collectors with unlimited resources, they were ordinary people, construction workers, students, teachers, retirees, people just like you, who happened to look carefully at a coin that seemed different, and that simple act of attention, that willingness to investigate rather than dismiss, changed their lives forever. It funded retirements, paid for educations, secured family financial futures, and created legacies that will last for generations. And there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't be the next person to make such a discovery, the next person to find a coin that shatters records and creates headlines, because these coins exist, they're real, they're documented, and some of them are still out there, uncertified and undiscovered. Thank you for joining me on this extraordinary journey through the world of ultra-rare Lincoln pennies. I hope you found this information valuable, enlightening, and inspiring. I hope it changes how you look at the coins in your pocket and the change on your dresser, because somewhere in America, right now, there's probably someone handling one of these treasures without realizing what they have, and with the knowledge you've gained here today, you've dramatically increased the odds that if you encounter one of these coins, you'll recognize it for what it truly is: a ticket to financial freedom, a piece of history, and proof that the most valuable treasures aren't always where you'd expect them to be. Sometimes they're just waiting in your pocket, in your jar, in your inheritance, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to see them for what they really are. And now, you are that someone, armed with knowledge, awareness, and the exciting possibility that your fortune might already be in your possession, waiting to be discovered. So go check those coins, examine them carefully, and who knows, maybe your life is about to change in ways you never imagined possible, because in the world of rare coins, miracles happen every single day, and the next miracle could be yours.